Hi, marketers. This is Dots, and welcome to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. With me here is Akvile DeFazio, President of Advertise. We will discuss how to leverage AI to improve your social media advertising performance. I know you guys are ready to do this, so let's get it. Akvila, welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, Dad's doing well. Thank you for having me.
Well, absolutely. So do you want to tell us about, what you do, your background, your role, uh, you know, I'm in awe because I'm starting to think of Dr. Vertice now, just add because you've got a very cool name for your company. So tell us about that and more.
Thank you. Sure. So I started my marketing and advertising career about 15 years ago. I worked in house for a number of companies from pet health insurance to e commerce, apparel, and outdoor gear to marketing events to marketers that were advertising conferences. But then 9 years ago, I decided to take the leap and started my own agency. So we offered paid search, paid social, organic social. But year two, I decided to part ways with most of those services and really dive deeper
Yeah.
into social media advertising. And I haven't had to revert and offer more services because there's been so many platforms to advertise on and a really big demand for it. So we just celebrated 9 years last month.
Wow. Wow. That is really, really awesome. And yeah, you're right. Like you have a lot of experience in social media advertising. Like I have been in marketing 13 years and I haven't run an ad on Quora yet, or Nextdoor, or Hulu, So it looks like you are the master, you are an expert at this. How did you get so diverse? Like, was it a very rough journey getting through that? Or is it just like, oh, all social media advertising platforms work the same?
Most of them do work the same, but some of them,
Oh, I wasn't expecting that answer.
I, the structures are very similar. I think that a lot of them kind of emulated what Facebook is doing, what Google is doing, and just did it in their own way, depending on what types of offerings that they can give. But each
Mhm.
one does play a different role in how it performs best. So, for instance, Facebook, Meta, Instagram, whatever you want to call it, it's been around the longest. The targeting is the most robust, but it can accomplish a number of goals where we look at something else, maybe like next door. That's more localized. That's more for services. We haven't really seen success advertising products for sale. To Pinterest, where Pinterest is really inexpensive, but people go there for different reasons. And it's great for brand awareness and driving traffic, but we've had really little success in driving actual sales directly from that platform. So I've
Mhm.
had to dabble. And also, it's attractive to prospective clients that we do have experience with a lot of these platforms, but if we're focusing on one, we don't really want to just only run ads on one platform. We want to be smart, diversified, because if something happens to that
Mhm.
one platform, we don't want to be fully offline, not running ads anywhere. So it's been important to kind of figure out each of them and how they work and how we can offer that to clients if it makes sense for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. And even in case everything is available, you got clients that got the pockets. You could ideally build a social media marketing funnel, basically. These are the ones that work for awareness, these are the ones that work for conservation. Even these are the ones that can help with upsell. So yeah, that's really, 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 really nice. And the fact that you have to like take out all the other aspects, I think it's important to be a specialist in your field, and I was a generalist for most of my career as well until I started to really focus on strategy and some of the other things like ad tech and so on and so forth. And now podcast marketing, which again is like a barren ground, So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so now to the topic really, which is a very interesting topic by the way for you guys listening. Um, AI and social media advertising. Now, we've been seeing a couple of things already, and we might discuss some of them and what they are. But I would like to start from audience research, for example. I think so far audience research is still, you need to do something, then we work with you, you need to upload something, you need to integrate something, which is fine. Um, but sometimes even the way that data is extrapolated is almost manual and, you know, What how do you work with that? How do you work with ad platforms? What do you see or what do you expect from ad platforms that are now leveraging AI to be able to create better segments? So let me give you a very good example. Amazon is now coming up with a means whereby people can send specific promotions to certain segments
Mhm.
pre-configured by Amazon based on their traffic and everything. So I'm imagining that on say Facebook ads, for example, or X, which as at the time of this recording is under pressure from advertisers. So um what how do you expect that to improve over time? Or even maybe you should start with where are we right now with regards to that? And how do you think it can get better, especially with audiences?
Great question. If you had told me that I would be talking about AI 6 months ago, I would have been like, I like many advertisers, I've really prided myself in finding audiences and hyper segmenting and being like, what percentage
Hmm.
lookalike works well? What interest stack? Um,
Yeah.
that started to perform not as well. And I've really leaned in the last 6 months to see, okay, like what are the options here? Where is this going? And it seems to be going more into letting the machine pick the people that it's going to serve ads to. So, particularly with meta ads, they launched a bunch of brand new AI tools and built in features as of May this year. If you're
Hmm.
on the e-commerce side, you may have heard of Advantage Plus shopping campaigns, which they launched last
Yeah.
Q4, but more brands
Yes.
got access to it this year. So that fully
Yeah.
uses um, AI to determine who to serve ads to best that are most likely to convert or whatever your goal is. And within that, in the ad set level where we would pick the audience, now there's a new thing using AI called Advantage Plus Audiences. And it
Mm.
works really well. And from the testing that we've been doing, you can put in a suggested audience. So some people might put
Oh,
in
okay.
website visitors. Some people might put in leads, maybe high
Hmm.
quality
Hmm.
audiences of some sort. But what we've noticed is that it performs better when you give it a suggestion of so we'll use Facebook and Instagram post and ad engagers over the last
Mm.
180 days or maybe a longer window depending on how much engagement that they get or what the budget size is. And we've
Yeah.
noticed that giving it like that little bit of a suggestion has helped yield better results. So it has a starting point of these are the people that we want to reach. And it kind of
Yeah.
acts like buckshot. So it hits those people, but then some outliers, and then it learns from
Hmm.
it. And then it reaches out to more people to find people to accomplish that goal. And we found that really successful over the last few months to letting it do the finding for us, where it's been hard to let go of that because it's something that was a value proposition and what we did really well. And a lot of advertisers do well, but
Hmm.
letting the machine have a larger opportunity pool to reach those customers or whatever prospects, whatever your goal is,
Yeah.
it's done a really good job. And I feel like it's just the beginning and everyone's talking about AI, but I feel like the machine learning is ramping up so quickly that by this time next year, it's going to be even more effective and more efficient for us to focus more on strategy and focus more on creative development rather than figure out how do we reach the right people.
Yeah. Interesting. So are you saying I'm I guess tapping from what I would call a free Facebook consultation live on air.
Sure.
I've been running these Advantage Plus campaigns, but sometimes I'm a bit cynical with ad platforms.
Rightfully so.
We are in constant calls with these guys every day. With all due respect, some of these guys have no clue what they're saying. You probably have better experiences than them. Actually, I'm talking about the support guys, not Facebook, even all these platforms here. So they had told me that, I was working with a client and it says, we are moving to Advantage Plus, we are going to give you like a £1,000 discount or something like that. So I had £1,000 discount, I felt, these guys, they are drawing me into something that I don't want. And then there was another brand promoting a very interesting product. And it's now it's delivering result, but before then it wasn't. So I felt maybe I should just run my regular prospecting campaigns with audience and lookalikes and run remarketing. And then on the side, I'll run the Advantage Plus. So it looks like the Advantage Plus is sort of doing better. So my question is this, and I'm asking this because I'm also a search advertiser, and on search they will tell you performance max is kind of sort of the equivalent
Mhm.
of advantage plus. So performance max, they will tell you run that with search ads. Don't just run performance max alone. So are you saying we should all just drop our guards and just follow advantage plus to get the advantage, or you know run it with all the older campaigns? What do you think with some of us that are just as cynical as I am?
I'm right there with you. I'm taking things with a grain of salt, but it's part of my job to be curious and have an appetite for testing. So I think it's smart to run both of them still. If it's not underperforming, as long as it's good, keep it running
Mhm.
until either it starts to dip in performance or Meta gets rid of it. I feel like Meta's
Okay.
really pushing, and a lot of platforms are pushing to go in a certain direction, but
Yeah.
I'm still running a lot of things with stacked lookalikes and interests, and it's still working really well. But I'm starting to notice that all the Advantage Suite types of things are starting to slowly get close to it, if not a little bit better.
Mm.
Also, there's some brands or some levels of budget where that may not work well for you because it does take time to learn. We launched some Advantage Plus things and it was like, oh, week one, horrible. Week two, a little better. Week three, okay, picking up traction, but you can see the natural progression of it, of like, it just takes a lot of time. And some brands can't afford to
Yeah.
do that if they're smaller. So I think it's still smart to do a combination of both and see
Mhm.
whether if it dips, pull back or turn it off and then reallocate your budget to what Meta or what other platforms want you to. And unless they get rid of it, but I feel like they might get rid of interest in behavior targeting because
Yeah,
they're really trying to, like,
yeah, yeah.
so we'll see.
They're trying to do, yeah, it's on Google Ads a few days ago. Again, this is being recorded in 2023, December-ish. I was working on audience expansion because they still had it there, and then the next day it wasn't there anymore. So they've got this audience thing too as well with AI. And the next question I want to ask, which is very interesting, is again, while I was running this campaign, it's a men's health campaign. I found out I got that approved, which was very nice. And it had this, let's help you improve your copy. So I put a copy in there, and then it gave me like four variations, and I was like, oh, not bad. It even had emojis inside, and then I put them. I selected I think three out of five, um, and then it looked like they had the system that forces you to create um all these variations using their system. So again, I know I'm using Facebook as a front because it's one of the oldest, but I'm also testing, X, this same campaign, X and TikTok, for example. And I know they're all following the same thing. Imagine TikTok, that even started with AI in the first place. What are you seeing so far with how these content suggestions are? This is creative innovation at its best. What do you think?
I think test it, see how it goes. I think they're wanting us to test things so they get more data and can improve on their end. So it's like, we have to give to each other. It's a give and take relationship. But it's really
Mm,
interesting to see all the new features that are coming out. But there's also little reporting to tell if it's working or not, or there's no reporting.
mm,
So it's like,
mm.
oh, toggle this button on and see if this optimization works, whether it's for copy or creative. But I think it's okay to test it, but also make sure that it's on brand for you because as you said, like sometimes it like puts in emojis, it puts in hashtags and some other text that might not align with what you're trying to message.
Yeah,
But
it puts in hashtags too, which
yeah,
I was like, well,
I also noticed it put in for some of the things that we place in there, it'll say, click here to get started. I'm like, well, that's a waste of a sentence. And I'm like, it's already intuitive that people know that you click something that you see and it takes you somewhere else, right?
yeah, yeah. Interesting stuff out there. What a time to be alive. This there is more. There's something else that I would like to find out in terms of ads management. So just to recap, we have looked at audience targeting, and now it's like, AI would do this. Third party data is not needed. We can do first party and give AI something and let it ride on top of it. Um, Now we've also spoken about the content side. Now we have ad formats that are different and they are some way simpler, which sometimes gets me worried, Akvila,
Yeah.
because they're gonna be like, why can't I just sack you right now and pay an intern to do your job? So that's on one side there. But again, I guess marketers need to do more strategy these days, because strategy cannot be done by the machines. That will still be done by the humans till the end of time.
Yeah.
Um, but that aside, dealt with that, we dealt with content. Now, the other side want us to look at is ads management, social media ads management in general with AI. Now, like us, if you can give me some examples that are outside of Facebook. This episode is not sponsored by Facebook. I wish it was. um, but yeah, like in terms of management, what are some of the things that you think would be very useful to incorporate into social media advertising with the help of AI? For example, if you are using Google Analytics 4, now AI can look at the data and tell you some insights that you can use in reporting. And you don't have to really make reports where you have to think and comment and look at trends yourself. AI is able to do that right
Yeah.
now. Is that sort of thing um, possible in social media? I know it's possible to an extent in terms of recommendations, even though sometimes I think what they recommend is not great. So maybe we can talk about that as well. But even if it's just from a recommendation perspective or the use of auto rules, for example, and ways in which I don't have to I don't have to spend man hours managing these campaigns, but at the same time, I have AI at the back end doing the right kind of stuff and helping me save time, and I can continue to bill clients heavy and make a ton of profit as an agency, or even if you're a marketer, you can overwhelm your boss and get a bonus. What are some of those solutions out there that you see,
Oh,
and what
tons.
do you expect?
So I just
Yeah,
spoke at a
that's
conference about 3 weeks ago exactly about this, and, there's things within platforms, but more so, there are tools that I use. I'm
mhm,
not affiliated with any of them, but the biggest time
okay.
savers when incorporating certain things in platforms for AI that has reduced my time working accounts, but also
Yeah.
reporting, tools. So I love Rose.com. I found it a couple of months ago, and it is like
Mm,
Excel on steroids. You can import data from anywhere, and you can ask its AI to be like, "Oh, which ads had a 3x return or higher," and it'll consolidate your reporting. You can ask it for fun facts where I'm not a data scientist, but I spend enough
mhm.
time in it, but I may miss something really interesting in the data where it could find that for me. Additionally,
Uh,
copywriting. So anything from writing ads to taking reporting summaries and making them much more concise and sending it to clients. Um, that coupled with in-platform things that have helped drive better results. So the clients are happy. We're doing better using AI in the platforms, but also on my
mm,
end as an agency owner, and I'm a very small team,
mm,
to give myself more time to do more strategy, to do more business development, grow my agency, and take on more consulting by using that plus like Jasper for marketing copy, for landing pages, for ads, for email communications. Um, and some other creative tools to make
mm,
videos and imagery, that has cut down in Q3 month over month for one lead generation client. It reduced my account management time 49%. For e-commerce client,
wow,
it reduced it 55%, and they were doing better. So the
wow,
clients are happy, and I'm spending less time actually managing it, and I can do bigger picture things and develop creatives and help them with other aspects to where the services that I provide help the
mm,
clients. So it's a win-win. And even in just that short amount of time, like, okay, like I'm seeing the benefits of incorporating this into my work.
interesting. Wow, wow, I like that. Are you saying so? Most of the tools that you have shared there are outside the native platforms. Are you? It's obvious that the native guys have a lot of work to
Yes, they do.
do.
I mean, it's new, like,
But
we keep going back to Meta, but, like, most of the things are there
yeah,
in platform where other platforms are slowly like, they have automation where you can set rules, but that's not
mhm,
really using AI, right? So it's just like, "Do this if X."
yeah,
But
that's not using AI. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, so we've had that for a while, and in some instances, it can work better and save you some time, but scheduling things
Mhm,
out, like, that always helps, but For instance, like Meta just rolled out its ad level features back in May this year. So you
Okay.
can do the text that we were talking about. It can fill in the pixels if your creative isn't big enough. It could do different background things for your catalog plus campaign. So like implementing that stuff, but also figuring out how do you make your time more effective and efficient as the person doing the work. So like, where do I
Mhm.
spend most of my time? Data analysis, reporting,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
writing copy, and, like, I enjoyed that stuff, but it does take a lot of time, so, like, having these little tools to play around with has been fun, and it's new, and we're not necessarily running it in ads for clients because we're just getting acquainted with it, but when it
Mm.
comes to reporting, that was the biggest amount of time saving that has happened to me in the last 5 to 6 months.
Wow, wow, interesting. This one very nice stuff. I know if you're listening and you're not very technical, you'll be like, yeah, what's what are you guys talking about? But it's if you are technical, then good. If you are not technical, yeah, just a few things that I think you need to know. That efficiency has come to play. You can first of all cut your employees' hours and keep the salary so that they can feel motivated and become more creative and become more strategic. And then you can also expect more from them on the flip side to say, yeah, I'm giving you this leeway, but also as a marketer, you need to give me greater results. Because now I see that these tools are making you become more efficient. I think 2023, 2024 through the end of the decade is seeing a resurgence of social media. People might be asking, what does that mean? Social media has been around. But for marketers that are really spending the buck, it's always about performance marketing up until this point. Let us run the shopping ads. Let us run this. Let us run the remarketing. Let us run the search. Let us run the ads that's about to deliver the goods. But now we are coming into the world of demand marketing, as some people will call it, or demand generation, which is really social media heavy. Now there is what we call the light social media, and then there is one that looks like me now, if you are watching this episode, the dark social media, like Slack and things like that on the B2B world. But the D2C world, there are also some darks like as well, like WhatsApp and some of these chat platforms. So you want to take advantage of this, AI train that is going on. But again, focus on analytics, focus on strategy, because at the end of the day, uh, I I almost think those are the jobs that would remain when the ships are down. So we'll see how that goes. Guys, I hope you're enjoying this so far. Like I said, please leave a review. It's the Marketing Leadership Podcast. Also subscribe. Some of you might want to do one or the other, but I will beg you to do the two. So subscribe and leave a review. If you'd like to see more episodes like this one, we try to get the best guests, the best marketers in the world. And as we are looking at it right now, because I've done my research, Akvile is the best AI social media advertising expert in the world. So you want to look at, you know, the things that we discuss, which are very uncommon questions to common topics. The good thing about this episode is that it is not very common, um, and even the ideas in there are not very common. So, if I were you, I would listen to this episode, share it with my friends, and if you like it so much, you can come to me for some licensing, and if you want to package it into a course, because I know it's that valuable. Basically, is what I'm saying. Okay, I will stop talking now. I know Brian, my producer, is like dots. We have a commercial break, and he is, beckoning on me to get that done. So we'll come back after this commercial break, and it's going to be the dots rapid fire. Let's see if Akvile can be as strong as Sam Altman, who overcame the fire of AI. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, guys, welcome back. Like I said, it's the dots rapid fire. It's 3 questions. You have to answer with the truth and nothing but the truth. So help you God. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, good. The first one is, what is your best marketing KPI? And I don't want to hear sales or revenue. And don't ask ChatGPT.
I was gonna say return on ad spend. A lot of our clients are holding us to a high return. So I work with mostly e-commerce brands, so that's really important.
Mhm.
So I do have to say
Yeah.
ROAS.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. No, no, I'll take ROAS. It's an
Okay.
average, so that's good. Okay. Second question: how long do you use social media every day?
Ugh. Weekdays a lot. I work in social media, so I'm on it quite a bit.
I was going to
So let's
say.
just say 8 hours a day. Weekends, I really try to limit that and focus on my family and doing other things to have more balance and be off of the screen. So I would say maybe over the weekends, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah, 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 okay, makes sense. I mean, I would assume work. Most of it is work, right? Trying to connect, trying to um.
Well, during
What's
the
that? Like?
weekday,
What?
yeah,
Yeah, what's the space? Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's for me. It's like about 1 hour, 2 hours, but that's the active side of it, and it's all LinkedIn X.
yeah.
Um, but for play, I am on social media maybe almost 24 hours. The reason is this: I don't take coffee, so I'm always on YouTube,
Ah,
listening to stuff. If I need to watch it, I'll change my tab and check what's there. Then I'll continue to work again, change my tab. So, and then when I'm sleeping, I just put on a documentary and under my pillow. So, it's a bit of a bad habit, but again, I don't drink coffee. Man's got to run with something.
yep.
So makes sense. Okay. What last question. What is your favorite marketing quote?
Yay. I feel like it's very in line with this. I didn't realize when I was thinking about it before, but Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, she said, "Don't be intimidated by what you don't know. That can be your greatest strength and ensure that you do things differently from everyone else."
I like that. I like that. I like that. That's almost my life with this podcast. So we'll continue
Perfect.
to do it. Yeah. Okay. One more question before I let you go for this episode. Um, and like we're saying off the mic, and I've said earlier before, there is not so much out there in terms of thought leadership for this subject that we are discussing, which is how I think my podcast is going to rank higher because we are discussing things people are not searching for right now. And then when they're ready to search for it, we start to rank. But it's so important. Like it's a very important field, that it's not about being a Nostradamus right now. It's already happening, right? But I would still like you to be a Nostradamus if you don't mind. What are some of the things that you think one day is going to happen to transform social media advertising as we know it through AI? For example, one day I would like to be in a position whereby I speak to my smart speaker to run a campaign. I'll give it everything that it needs, i- you know, and it just runs the campaign. And when the campaign is done, my smart speaker tells me the campaign is done. And then we go back and forth and I don't have to do anything. I'm just in Mexico or something like that, sucking coconut milk. That is one way. But what are some of the things that you think will transform social media advertising forever thanks to AI? If ChatGPT releases this AGI stuff that they're talking about, which they say is one step away from singularity, I'm sure ad platforms want to leverage on that as well. That's just an example. So, what are some of the things that you think will happen and we should prepare for?
Oh, wow. Let me ask my crystal ball. I mean, it would be nice to be on a beach and just have it run for us, just tell it what we need, but I'd also be sad and miss that work, but I also do dream about retiring early. So,
Exactly.
um, I feel like it's just shifting in many ways, but it still needs us. It's still in its infancy with the way it writes. It's very robotic. You have to add that nuance and that like human soul into things where I don't think AI can add soul into it yet, but
Mhm.
I feel like in due time, there's some really crazy things that big tech companies are doing behind closed doors with AI and to
Mm,
where like parts of it is leaking out. So,
mm,
having it be like just more human um,
Hmm.
and having that creativity and warmth and empathy, it it freaks me out, to be completely frank, but I feel like that could make it more effective to advertise to people to captivate them more because it would seem real and not like a robot.
Mm,
But I think that we're gonna have to start shifting the way that we think of, advertising, in that the ads are now our targeting instead of the targeting being the targeting, right? Because it's just you're
mm,
target everybody and
mm.
let the AI do the
Yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah.
So
Let the yeah.
I think it's going to do mostly everything for us, but we still have to keep our jobs and provide value. It's not like, okay, dear Google, like do this. So long story long, I think it's going to get easier in many ways, but I think it's also going to be a big shift for us to start thinking differently of how do we still do our jobs, but give the machine the human component that it needs.
Mm, interesting. I like that, and I think from the human aspect as well, I think it's important to. I think what might make this work very well is to have humans contribute from, say, you have a portal on the ads manager. I'm talking about any ads manager now, where you can just upload your brand guide, for example, or where you can just upload your strategy that has all the signals that you are looking for, in the most human way that can be defined. And then the system can always take that information to nurture the account. And every campaign you run, hopefully you're retiring early and it's running the campaign for you. It's able to remember those things. It's able to remember the guides. It's able to remember that this is the tone of the brand, and it's able to remember all these other things. Maybe there is a mistakes portal as well, where you upload all your mistakes and why that should never happen again. In companies right now, we are starting to have what we call a mistake Slack channel. Yeah, so where you are posting this and you're sending it into the system. But I think if we have a framework like that, and then one can really, really leverage the power of AI. I think the flip side is, and I just want to draw in, this is unplanned, but I want to draw in Brian here, our producer at some point, is AI just bothering you. Like remarketing, retargeting, it's everywhere. You say something, it picks it up, it runs the ad. I'm from a customer perspective, Brian. How do ads or marketing cross from being in moment, which is what they call it. So at the moment you get it and you're like, oh, that's good. It knows what I'm thinking, to borderline stalking, basically.
Anytime we have to have serious conversations around the household, we put our phones in a different room because there's been so many unusual things that we don't search for, but we'll talk about and it pops up and it still surprises me. And it's a little abrasive at first, like, oh, well, like I didn't want it to know this about, what we're maybe planning as a family. So,
Mhm.
as you said, just to echo that, if you creep responsibly and do it well to where it's not overwhelming and not just bombarding you for the first couple of days, spreading it out a little bit more, but that requires, maybe the audience is too small or whatever it may be on the targeting side. But I feel like you have to be strategic to not make it seem too obvious, but it's hard these days, right? Because people
Mhm.
know that machines are listening, that it's taking into account everything we're doing across devices. But yeah, try to be subtle, but still try to catch people in the moment because that does help drive conversions.
Yeah, yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay, the conversation of that continues, but this episode has ended. Thank you so much for sharing these insights. Like I said, continue to do the great work that you do. And months from now, AI, people ask AI, who knows about AI, social media, and then you just sit right at the top and sit there for a long time and help guide the industry forward, because I think a lot of guidance is needed. Marketers are always used to extremes. Oh, this is working, you go there. Oh, it's not working anymore, go here. And then we all leave that and then come here. So being able to find that balance, we need marketing leaders like yourself to do that. So thank you for sharing this great wisdom. Where can people find you? Where can marketing leaders that are trying to excel in this field, again, social media advertising, where can they find you?
You can find me at advertise.com or on most other
Uh,
social platforms with my first and last name.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, again, that is advertise.com, not .vertise, but advertise.com. Guys, this is how we do it on the DOS podcast, which is the Marketing Leadership Podcast, my podcast from Dot Love Marketing. There are many episodes like this where we discuss great wisdom in a very relaxed atmosphere. And those can be found on the website, which is dotlovesmarketing.com. Again, it's dotlovesmarketing.com. If you don't want the website, just subscribe to your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. I'd like to thank Content Allies and Descript for their support at all times. We've been recording like crazy, and now we are slowly getting tired. Before I go, it's listennetwork.co. If you have a podcast and you want to make it from big to bigger or from bigger to biggest, you've just cracked the code. Let's move forward together. Contact us today. Till next time, connect the dots.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Leadership Podcast, brought to you by Dots Loves Marketing. There will be links to any resources mentioned in today's show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.